Hello and welcome to a 4-part tutorial series on harmonization of a diatonic melody, where we will discuss several approaches from the Schillinger system of musical composition. This first episode presents the source diatonic melody and its characteristics. In the later parts we'll look at the diatonic, chromatic and symmetric harmonization techniques. Book 6 in the Schillinger system of musical composition is about the correlation of harmony and melody, and covers melody creation from a given harmony and the reverse process, that is, the harmonization of melody, as covered in Chapter 3. In this tutorial we start from a given diatonic melody, to which you may add a diatonic, chromatic or symmetric harmony. I'll discuss the fundamentals and show examples in various musical styles. In case you would like to support my tutorial production, you may do so through a PayPal donation or instead become a long-term patron. Let's now study the characteristics of the diatonic melody source material. The subject overview is shown in this diagram that will return throughout the video. It integrates content from various Schillinger system books, and I will guide you through the elements. In Book 6 we are correlating harmony and melody, starting from either end, with either a chord progression or a melody. The latter approach is presented in Chapter 3. Since both melody and harmony could be of the diatonic, chromatic or symmetric type, we obtain a total of 9 combinations, 9 alternative approaches to the harmonization of melody. The theory of melody is covered in Schillinger System Book 3. Here we will use techniques from chapters 3 to 6 in order to obtain a musically meaningful, maybe even beautiful melodic continuity. On the YouTube channel, melodic continuity aspects have been covered in a set of videos. The two most important are: the harmony in this tutorial series is based on chord structures in thirds. This is covered in Schillinger System Book 5, the special theory of harmony. It covers functional, traditional diatonic harmony, about which I already did many videos. You may start with this overview. Schillinger also presents derived and alternative harmony systems with chords in thirds, such as the diatonic symmetric system, chromatic, symmetric and hybrid harmony. Except for chromatic harmony, these systems have been discussed in many videos. Here's a list of viewing suggestions. In these I discussed chord tension, that is triads, 7th, 9th and 11th chord structures, root movement with positive and negative root cycles, chord inversion, and dissonant chordal function handling through preparation and resolution. By the way, in case you are new to the Schillinger system, you may want to start with this introduction. Other harmony aspects mentioned in the right half of this diagram will be discussed in parts 2 to 4 in the series. In this episode we limit ourselves to a diatonic melody that will later receive a diatonic, chromatic or symmetric harmonization. This melody is based on a 7-pitch diatonic scale. Overlaying a rhythmic pattern and a tag duration series on a pitch series derived from the scale, we obtain a melodic continuity. That is the diatonic melodic phrase we will use as the source for harmonization. The melody has characteristics such as a primary axis, melodic axes and a curve with climax and resistance. These will be discussed in the next section. You will see some examples of either diatonic or chromatic harmonization, but the detailed discussion of the various approaches is left for the later parts in the series. The source material, the diatonic melody, is a 9 measures long phrase that is shown here in staff notation. The melodic continuity is the result of overlaying a rhythm on a pitch unit series. The melody is composed from the 7-pitch unit C major scale, the Ionian mode. Note that rhythmically the shortest note duration is the 8th note, and the number of shorter duration attacks increases as the melody progresses. The bottom staff displays various annotations highlighting specific melody aspects that we will now discuss in a number of subsections. Look at the annotated melody representation and note the overall ascending-descending melodic curve. We start on a long note pitch unit G4 and reach the apex pitch A5 at about the golden section duration, at about 2/3 of the length. After this climax, the melody gradually descends to the closing pitch E5. The melodic path is not straightforward, however. It is embellished with local melodic patterns that circle around the global curve. This is what Schillinger calls resistance. When we highlight a number of points along the melodic curve as shown in the top staff, you hear this. This type of melodic curve yields a balanced, natural melody with musical beauty. Let's have a closer look at the closing measures. I already mentioned how the melody is derived from the C major scale and that the closing pitch is an E. That is not the tonic degree of the scale. Listen to a typical strong closing cadence, second inversion tonic to dominant 7 to tonic degree triad. A more traditional closing of this melody would be on the tonic degree pitch C over the same closing cadence harmony. This is in line with the typical Schenker analysis pattern, that is, with the stepwise descending lead 3, 2, to 1. For completeness, here is the third chordal function option from the tonic triad C major. The melody now ends on chordal function 5, the pitch G, with unchanged closing cadence. I deliberately chose the first option with the closing on E, as that provides me with more flexibility, more freedom in the harmonization phase when applying different tonal centers or modal variants. Another melodic feature is the set of leap step patterns. Their origin lies in Western music counterpoint writing, with theoretical instructions dating back to the Renaissance, the 16th century. What it basically means is that when a part moves by a leap in one direction, either ascending or descending, it is followed by one or more steps in the opposite direction. This balances the leap, but at the same time the leap step pattern adds to melodic resistance. My example melody has 3 occurrences of this pattern. A melodic continuity has a so-called primary axis. It is the melody pitch unit with the maximum cumulative duration, irrespective of octave transposition. The primary axis is an anchoring point for the melody. It creates rootedness and will likely become the tonic degree for diatonic harmony, although that need not be the case. I discussed the definition and examples of primary axis calculations in other videos, such as the 2 listed here. In the staff I marked all occurrences of pitch class E. Since the time unit is the 8th note, the cumulative duration of E is 21 time units. If we repeat the calculation for all 7 diatonic pitches in C major, we obtain the table shown on the right. Add the numbers in each column and thus we learn that pitch E is the melody primary axis. The addition operation is biased by the long note in measure 9. Cumulative values over the first 8 measures makes the pitch class G the primary axis. Note that this still is not the tonic degree of the major scale. In the later part harmonization examples, you will see either adherence to or ignoring the primary axis. After finding the primary axis, we continue with more melodic axes. These determine the direction of melodic motion relative to the primary axis. Obviously, there are 4 options. 2 will create tension by diverging from the primary axis. 2 will decrease tension by converging towards this axis. We obtain secondary axes when combining 2 melodic axes. There are several options that yield parallel or oblique axis patterns. In measure 3, there's an example of a stable horizontal top axis over a stepwise ascending lower axis. The result is an oblique axis pattern. I copied this measure in the lower staff, and now you'll hear a non-exhaustive set of axis combinations. The use of secondary axes is another means for adding resistance to a melody. And here's another such device. The melodic pattern known as Cambiata also has its origin in counterpoint writing. In the so-called third species, we add 4 notes to a single cantus firmus note. These 4 notes may be part of the Cambiata pattern, which must have a consonant interval or chord structure on the 1st and 5th note. Here are a few examples of 2- and 3-part Cambiata setting. In our melody, you'll find a sequence of incomplete Cambiata patterns in measure 7. This approach adds resistance as the pitch rises stepwise from E to G. The final melody characteristic that I would like to discuss are the 2 instances of syncopated notes in the middle and near the end. These may be treated as textbook cases of dissonance handling in diatonic harmony. The held over notes become suspensions, that is, dissonant chordal functions such as 7, 9 or 11, and they must be prepared correctly and resolved by stepwise descending motion into a consonant chordal function. Watch one of the many tutorials I did on this subject. Here I'm referencing an overview episode on the YouTube channel. In case of 2 suspensions in succession, these are likely candidates for a harmonic sequence. Here is the textbook solution with correct dissonant chordal function 7 preparation by the root 1 of the preceding chord and resolution into another root. Harmonically, we obtain a sequence of triad 7th chords with positive diatonic root cycles R3, R7. Listen to this lead part of a 3-part harmony setting. Here's an alternative solution. The dissonant chordal function is prepared by and resolves into chordal function 3. Again, we obtain a sequence of triads and 7th chords, but note the many inversion position voicings. The root movement still is positive cycles only. The setting now is denser 4-part harmony. And here's the solution with mixed dissonant chordal functions 7, 9 and 11. I did my best to implement correct preparation and resolution, but with so many closely spaced dissonant notes, that is a complicated puzzle with locally suboptimal voice leading. Notice the negative root cycle R-7 and the parallel -7th interval when going from the A-7 to the G sus9 chord. gradually with the discussion of the Cambiata and syncopation suspension patterns. Over the last subsections we have entered the harmonization phase. This section is a very brief overview of what is to come in the next parts. In the overview diagram we are now in the right half, where we design a chord progression to go with the diatonic melody. The three branches diatonic, chromatic and symmetric harmonization are presented in more detail in parts 2, 3 and 4 respectively. Here I want to give a first glimpse of what you will see in those episodes. It is a small subset of examples without much discussion. You'll see the chord progression and an instrumental form. The latter subject is covered in another book from the Schillinger system. For an overview, you may want to watch this video tutorial. The first example demonstrates diatonic harmonization of a diatonic melody. The 4-part harmony setting is in the key of C major. All notes are pitches from the 7-unit scale. Above the staff you'll find the melody chordal function with numbers between 1 and 13. Below that I've indicated chord structure type and inversion position, while below the staff there are the Schillinger diatonic harmony system root cycles with positive or negative values. This is a measure for strong, stable chord progression and cadential quality. Listen to this example. The instrumental form has the melody in oboe with first violins doubling. The harmony is in the lower strings and harp. The style is standard second half 18th century classical period, a light setting somewhat typical of the Mannheim Schule. We discussed the melody closing pitch and the meaning of the primary axis. In this diatonic harmonization, I've written a diatonic chord progression in G Mixolydian mode, with a half cadence closing. Again, all notes are pitches from the diatonic scale. As an instrumental form, this has become a solo harpsichord phrase in a late 16th, early 17th century style, not unlike Renaissance composer William Byrd. Note the 16th note embellishment patterns in imitation. The inconsistency here, obviously, is the closing cadence with extended chord. The third example illustrates the chromatic harmonization technique. The key is C major, the harmony setting is 4-part. But the progression this time is full of pitch alterations and chromatically moving inner parts. It has become a modern, advanced chord progression, here played by a small fusion jazz quartet. There's no need to buy the ultimate Nikos MIDI chord pack. With a bit of exercise you can write progressions like these yourself, as I did, with Schillinger looking over my shoulder. Let's sum up what we did in this tutorial. As first step into the Schillinger system techniques for harmonizing a diatonic melody, we took a close look at the latter. Several aspects were covered, such as the melodic curve, the primary and other axes, typical pitch patterns, climax, and resistance. Harmonization may be achieved in 3 systems. Schillinger techniques for the diatonic, chromatic, and the symmetric system will be demonstrated for the example melody and will be covered in greater detail in the next 3 parts in the series. For my Patreon supporters, there's a companion document with text, diagrams, and score fragments. I hope you enjoyed watching this latest major undertaking, the development of a tutorial series on the integration of the melody and harmony domain as envisaged by Schillinger. Show your appreciation by giving it a like and/or subscribe to the channel. You may also support my educational efforts through a PayPal donation or as a patron. The links are in the video description below. For more content, visit my website, and for now, thanks for watching.